Muncaster itself is a conglomerate, if you like, of a number of wonderful attractions which on their own could be attractions in themselves. The core of the whole place and the focus of the place is the castle. The castle dates from around 1300, although many people believe that the oldest part of the castle is built on Roman foundations because the Romans were here many centuries before the Penningtons turned up. And so I think people have been looking at that view outside the front door, up the valley of Eskdale, enjoying the view, and sometimes just admiring the view, sometimes watching for their enemies to go past for many, many centuries. So the castle itself is full of all sorts of art, objects of interest, treasure if you like, tapestries, silver, and full of stories. It's not a boring place. Because the same families lived there for so long, we've collected all sorts of wonderful cultural objects, and but we don't go on about them, but we can tell funny stories about things that have happened in the past, and of course we are very famous for our ghosts. So people come from all over the world to actually try and experience our ghosts. We've been researched by scientists for well over 15 years now, and many people believe Muncaster is one of the most haunted buildings in Great Britain. The castle is a treasury of all sorts of wonderful objects, art, paintings, porcelain, sculpture, and when visitors come into the castle they get offered an audio tour that's narrated by members of the family and takes you around the castle in an innovative and interesting way. It's not just boring dates and who was married to so-and-so. It really brings the place alive with funny tales and stories. As well as the castle sits in beautiful gardens surrounding the castle, many acres of wild woodland gardens. We're not pretty gardens, but we're wildlife gardens, because one of our great delights is, as well as all the wonderful flowers and shrubs from all over the world we have in the gardens, is the gardens are home to the World Owl Centre.
The World Owl Trust was the first ever owl conservation organisation in the world. And this is the first owl centre for conservation of owls, which are open to the public. What we do here is we study them in captivity, and yes, it's captivity, but we're not an owl zoo. Our whole aim is to buy precious time for an owl like that while we put the habitat back where it should live, where its food is, where it's going to be safe, protected areas. And as you see, not tame owls. These are owls that we want to behave naturally. We want them to do that. We don't want them to love people. We want them to act like wild birds.
We have many special events throughout the year at Muncaster. Usually it starts off in April the 1st. We call it Tom Fool's Day, and our resident fool will be playing Mayhem. The fools are in control of the castle, and the family wait on them, and I get thrown in the stocks, and all sorts of things happen then. After that, we go into the best time of year for the gardens. The gardens are great at any time, but from mid-April to the mid-June they are just absolutely out of this world. The bluebells are wonderful in mid-April and early May, and what we call a feast of rhododendrons. Everywhere you go it's a rhododendron spectacular. The colours are superb. One little girl we found skipping the way through the bushes with her mother, and she said, "Oh mummy, it's a dream of flowers," and I think that's a very good explanation of what the gardens are like.
This is the Jordan Terrace, which was laid down by the first Lord Muncaster in about the 1780s, and it's actually the biggest man-made garden part that we have. Most of the gardens are quite naturalised actually, and as they would be. But this has been levelled out from quite a steep hillside. The yew hedges and box hedging was added in the 19th century. This is the view that Ruskin wrote about when he said it's the gateway to paradise. And just over there you can see why you've got the mountains of Scafell and the fells on the other side. And it is a glorious vantage point to appreciate the countryside of Eskdale.
At the end of May we have a great celebration to celebrate the fact that Tom Fool, the original Tom Fool, used to live at Muncaster. He was a man called Tom Skelton, and many people think he's actually one of our ghosts here, but the word tomfoolery comes from Muncaster, and we celebrate that every year with our Festival of Fools, a 5-day celebration of mirth and merriment, and the crowning end to that is when we have a competition at the International Jester Tournament to appoint our next jester for the year. And then another really big event for us at Muncaster is Halloween. Because we're meant to be one of the most haunted places in the country, and there's a lot of interest in the ghosts at the Halloween week. and we now do candlelight tours, ghostly tours of the castle in that week, and an awful lot of people come, and that leads into what we call Darkest Muncaster, because we don't close at the end of October. We light up the gardens, and it's very beautiful in many ways. It depends quite who you are. Young couples think it's very romantic, children think it's very exciting and sometimes scary, and it's just a very beautiful place to be. We have a fairly new attraction called the Meadowvale Maze, which is in the gardens, an indoor attraction, and really it's a themed attraction around the story of the owls and the conservation work we do. And children come along, or children of any age, whether they're 2 to 82, come along and help Max Meadowvale get through the wildflower meadow and avoid all those nasty creatures out there that are trying to eat him. We have another little attraction called Muncaster Interactive, and this is a room, a computer suite in one of the old buildings that's been adapted with computers installed, and you can come and learn more about the castle and the history and the ghosts. Well, as well as being one of the best tourist attractions in the area, in the Western Lake District, Muncaster also offers accommodation. We have within the gardens of Muncaster what we call the coachman's quarters. These are lovely 10 bedrooms, bed and breakfast accommodation, beautifully appointed, and the advantage of staying here is you get the gardens to yourself in the morning and in the evening after the public have gone home. Very beautiful place to be in, and just to wander lonely as a cloud almost and look at the views of the Western Lake District is fantastic. And also in the village of Ravenglass, right nearby the castle, we now have the Pennington Hotel, which offers high quality hotel style accommodation in the village as well.